A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Today's episode will cover the challenges and opportunities for MSMEs in the healthcare sector. What are some of the initiatives in place, the role of small-scale businesses, and all about medical technology? To answer these questions and more, I'll be chatting with Chaitanya Sarawate, Managing Director, Wipro GE Healthcare and President and CEO, GE Healthcare South Asia. I'm now joined live by Chaitanya. Thank you so much, Chaitanya, for joining us today.
Thank you, Ritwika. Great to be here and great to be talking about Wipro GE Healthcare.
I want to start off by talking about GE Healthcare's recent $1 billion investment in India's medtech R&D. How do you perceive this shaping the future landscape of healthcare innovation in India?
Wonderful. I think everybody is talking about India, and India is the center of the attention for the entire world. We have to think about it in context, right? So number one, from a perspective of the global economy, India is soon going to be potentially reaching number 3 in the economic setup. Secondly, we have a very young population and a substantial amount of GDP growth that is happening. Now, medtech industry specifically has been highlighted as a sunrise sector. It is a sector which has supported the healthcare delivery models across the world. And I think in India, we will be sort of pursuing medtech sector as a sunrise sector. Now, from that perspective, so the economy plus the medtech sector's sort of categorization as sunrise sector has been supported by significant policy actions from the government, whether it is the PLI scheme, whether it is the incentives for research and development, whether it is the national medical device policy, etc. So if I think about it in a contextual framework, it's a large market because of the large population, because of the developing economy and the economic growth,
sure,
and an emphasis on the medtech sector. And that is the context under which sort of GE Healthcare and Wipro GE is thinking about it. And so our commitment to participate in both India's economic development as well as in the sunrise medtech sector has been since last 30 years. And we see this opportunity and this opportune time to partner with India to be able to help achieve its aspiration to become a developed country with a strong medtech sector. And that's essentially where the more than $1 billion of investment comes about.
Considering the evolving regulatory landscape in India's healthcare, tell us, how is Wipro GE Healthcare navigating these changes to ensure compliance and also maintain leadership in the market?
I think the way I would think about it is, today, even with medtech sector being a sunrise sector, more than 75% of the needs of the local market are unfortunately met through imports of products from outside. Secondly, if you think about it, in order to achieve our goal of being a Viksit Bharat by 2047, a developed country,
okay,
we need to ensure that there is a comprehensive regime that we are able to put in place, both in the form of incentives which exist like the PLI scheme, etc., but also in the form of ease of doing business and regulatory simplicity, so that the industry is able to grow, so that the expectation of achieving those goals is there. Done right, India definitely has the potential to be the medtech hub, not only just for meeting the needs of India, but also meeting the needs of many other countries around the world. Now, our stance as we think about building our company or building the industry as a whole is that patient safety and quality and compliance has to be at the forefront. And the policy regime or the regulatory regime that is there in order to achieve these 3 fundamental requirements.
So what are the key challenges and opportunities, Chaitanya, do you foresee for MSMEs in India's healthcare sector?
I think at one point in time, every company has been a medium and small enterprise, and it eventually becomes a large enterprise. So I have a deep appreciation for all the MSMEs and companies, innovative companies, which are coming out and springing out here in India in the medtech sector.
Right.
I would say the way I would put at it in terms of challenges, right? The fact that 75% of the needs of our local market are being met through imports is definitely an opportunity, but is also a challenge for MSMEs because they have to effectively compete and make sure that they do so while keeping safety, quality, regulatory requirements at the top of the mind is something that is important for them. Secondly, when they do that, multiplicity of regulators. So medtech industry is at the cross section of health, electronics, and technology. And so there are multiple regulators that are involved in different portions of regulating this industry. And I think dealing with the multiplicity of regulators can be a potential challenge for MSMEs. And I think definitely as they are building up and as they are scaling up, getting incentivization for or not having adequate incentivization for R&D so that they are able to invest in developing products which are core to meet the needs of Indian market. I think that's probably one of the challenges that is there.
Absolutely.
I think the opportunities though are that have been unlocked because of the public action, because of the market deepening, etc., are definitely something which are countering each of these challenges that they have faced in the past. So as I mentioned, the 75% import is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity of a large market that they can now compete and potentially service from local factories, local laboratories. Second one, the government has definitely taken multiple steps and initiatives based upon the feedback received to try and harmonize a little bit the amount of regulations that the MSMEs need to meet in order to be able to develop and bring a product to the market. And I think that is something which, as it continues to evolve in the following sort of months, for example, we have heard announcements about the National Medical Device Policy. We have heard announcements about various regulatory simplification that is on the anvil. And so I think that will definitely create opportunities.
Sure.
Third, the fact that there is a disparity in the cost of doing business and very specifically logistics related. For example, I think there is 12 to 15% disability that Indian manufacturers face as compared to manufacturers in other countries. This is as per the Department of Pharmaceuticals. And so based upon that, the PLI incentive scheme has come through, which reduces some of that disability, about 5% of that. And so that is also creating an opportunity for the MSME sector. In a nutshell, the way I would say it is, there are challenges, but there are significant opportunities, and there is significant amount of work happening to simplify the way work happens, to allow the MSME sectors to grow, to flourish, and to be able to to sort of exploit the opportunity which is there today in the marketplace. And so that's the way I see it. And then we are more than happy to do whatever we can to be able to enable that sector, because we believe that the entire sector needs to deepen, which means that the MSMEs need to be just as successful as some of the companies which have been around for a long time, so that the Indian patient and the market can benefit.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Leaders of Tomorrow, in conversation tonight with Chaitanya Sarawate, Managing Director, Wipro GE Healthcare and President and CEO, GE Healthcare South Asia, decoding the opportunities in India's healthcare sector. Can you also talk to us about some of the current initiatives, aimed at addressing healthcare disparities and improving access to advanced medtech in underserved communities across the region?
There are initiatives which are happening at a policy, governmental action level, and then there are initiatives that individual companies are taking in order to ensure that we are able to in order to enable the access to healthcare technology for the patients. So if I just think about it, access is restricted because of ability to pay sometimes. And the fact that over the last 5 years, there has been deepening of Ayushman Bharat and deepening of insurance penetration significantly alleviates the ability to pay as a key consideration for access. Second one is, if I just think about it from the standpoint of policy perspective, attracting more companies which can actually come to India, design products here, manufacture them here, and supply them to the patients here, also is another way that the public policy is enabling enhancement of access.
All right.
So I think those are and those are essentially well understood solutions that the government is putting in place. They're also investing in primary care infrastructure. I think 179,000 PHCs or Ayushman Kendras are getting set up. So I think that is the public portion of the work to enhance access. On our side, private companies, and there are many different initiatives that are happening. When you look at it from Wipro GE standpoint, we are doing essentially three major factors. One is we are designing specific products which will enhance access in access restricted communities. So for example, we have recently launched an Revolution Aspire CT. So it's a computed tomography machine which is designed here in India, which is designed in such a fashion that it can function very effectively even in infrastructure restricted geographical territories. It has less moving parts, it requires less amount of power, and still delivers good quality of care. And I think that's sort of one way, developing products which meet the requirements of access restricted communities, if you may.
Yep.
Second one is we have invested, for example, in a distribution company called GenWorks, and the intent is to be able to ensure that our products and servicing of that product reaches the far corners of the country, and so that is something that we have done in order to enhance the access. And then third, obviously we have localized quite a number of products here. We manufacture them here in the factories, and that ensures that our ability to service the requirements of the customer, whether it is getting the product quickly or whether it is ensuring that the servicing of the equipment can happen on a more fast or efficient basis, that way the product remains functioning to enhance the access of the patient. So I think the access enhancement is something which is a core responsibility of all players in the healthcare system, whether it is government and government is doing its part, or whether it is private companies such as ourselves, and we are doing our part as well. And we absolutely believe that enhancement of access will continue to happen over the next decade.
Now, with GE Healthcare Technologies recently becoming an independent NASDAQ-listed company, tell us, how does this align with Wipro GE Healthcare's objectives in South Asia, especially India?
Wonderful. So as you know, and as you mentioned, GE Healthcare became independent at the beginning of last year, which means we were listed as GE Healthcare on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, I believe. Now, that is a fact.
Sure.
And what that has done at a global level for GE Healthcare is to be able to focus exclusively on the needs of patients, on the needs of our customers, providers, to ensure that we are able to allocate all of our capital, all of our focus to the needs of this industry, of this patients, of these customers, right? I think in general, India as a market is a fairly large market for when you compare it across the world. It's the fastest growing market. And so it is important for GE Healthcare. Secondly, our commitment has been there even before the spin-off, and it has been there for the last 32 years. And I think with this separation of GE Healthcare from GE, we are able to redouble the effort. And the way it can be demonstrated is that over the last 30 odd years, we have invested about $4 billion roughly. And I think we just made a commitment this year that we are going to increase that by 1 billion more over the next 5 years. And our intent is demonstrated through the actions that we have taken, whether it is in the form of additional investments, whether it is in the form of partnerships that we have established with academic institutions, with public institutions, with private institutions, whether it is in the form of distribution investments that we have made, and we will continue to make them in the future.
Chaitanya, could you also share insights into how Wipro GE Healthcare is leveraging digital transformation across its markets?
So I think the way I would say it is, digital is the future for healthcare. And let me just give you a little bit of context around that one. We have a very large global population. And in India, it is median age is 28, but globally, population is aging. And aging population requires substantive amount of healthcare.
Absolutely.
Secondly, when you think about it from a standpoint of healthcare professionals that are available, they are not necessarily available in quantities that will be required in order to support the need of this larger population. And so we have been clear-eyed that this is the impending future. And the only answer for that is through our D3 strategy, which is making sure that we have digital-ready products or smart devices. We have digital solutions, software applications, which are able to automate some of the work, make the care delivery efficient, and focus on disease states which will be afflicting this aging population or this growing patient pool. And that is essentially cardiology, neurology, and oncology. And so I think that is a clear-eyed strategy that we have. And all of our investments, all of our development is going towards translating that into reality. Now, what does that do to patients? So if you think about it from a patient standpoint, a patient wants to be to know that they have a disease as early as possible. You want them to be diagnosed accurately. You want them to be treated, and you want them to be monitored so that the treatment is found to be effective. And we are making investments in each of these four elements, using both AI to enhance the efficiency of the care, whether it is in screening, whether it is in diagnosing, whether it is in treatment, or whether it is in monitoring. And we are doing that in such a fashion that it reduces the burden of work that the healthcare professionals face today in order to be able to give this care, given the increasing pool of patient population.
Right.
And so that's essentially how I foresee the digital playing a pivotal role, both in healthcare as well as in Wipro GE playing a pivotal role in ensuring that digitization happens.
Well, the theme for our show this season is powering entrepreneurs for the global stage. Tell me, what advice would you have for businesses in the healthcare sector looking to transition from local market leadership to having a global presence?
So I think for any business which is in healthcare, the first thing that they always have to focus on is the fact that it is the patient who needs to benefit from whatever activity, whatever product, whatever service that we are producing. It's the patient who has to benefit. Either we have to lengthen their life, or we have to improve their quality of life, or we have to improve the satisfaction or the experience that the patients have in dealing with the healthcare. And I think that has to be the primary focus, whether you're a locally focused company or whether you're global, you're transitioning to become a global company. Second thing, there is no possibility in healthcare to ever shortchange quality or compliance or regulations, because those are compliance and regulations is essentially the way that we ensure that quality healthcare can be delivered. I would say keeping quality or zero defect or no defect or low defect, as we call it, no defect, is at the forefront of any operation, is something that I would do. Third is, in healthcare is a complex delivery process. There is no possibility of working in silos by yourself. It is a too complex industry to be able to solve for by yourself. And so working across in an integrated fashion across different companies, public institutions, private institutions, is something that definitely has to be the way you work in order to be able to solve for the patient and ensuring that they get the highest quality care. And I think there is no healthcare that is feasible without or improving outcomes is feasible without innovation. So I would say the four items, and in the order that I would say it is: number one, keep patient as the key focus, because that's who we are solving for.
Sure.
Number two, quality, integrity, compliance, regulatory absolutely has to be adhered to, always has to be at the forefront, because that ensures safe delivery of care. No silos, work across the entire ecosystem, because we are all in it together and we have to work together to solve something as complex as that. And I think innovation, continuing to make continuous improvement so that we are able to deliver for the patient a little bit better than what we did yesterday, a little bit better than what we would do today would happen tomorrow. So I think that has to be the approach that we have to take. So those would be my sort of advice for anybody who is in the healthcare industry.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chaitanya, for joining us today. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.